This is Joyce Tyson. I'm talking to John Antonio today. We're sitting here at Dunham's department store in the coffee shop, and John has been sitting here in this very table for how many years?
26 years.
26 years doing his daily or several times a week radio show.
Coffee Break with John.
Coffee Break with John. And he is 92 years old, is that right?
92. Yeah.
And still having a good time with the radio show.
That's
and
right.
Other things. Now, John had a history in Mansfield, and that's what we want to talk to him about today. You bought the Twain Theater. What year was that?
1966.
Okay. I actually thought it was earlier than that.
No, it was 1966.
Okay.
Because that was the year we moved to Wellsboro.
Okay, to Wellsboro or
to Mansfield.
Okay.
Because we commuted the prior to that. Well, let's see. I said 1966. We moved to Mansfield 1966, but the theater was bought in 1959.
Okay,
so
now
you're right. You're right.
Yes, because I remember being there when you and Effie and Linda were running it.
Yeah.
And you bought that from Mrs. Taylor.
Mrs. Taylor, yeah.
Okay, that had been built by Harry Taylor and
Mr. Swain.
Mr. Swain, and that's where the name Twain came from.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of people think it came from Mark Twain,
From
and
Mark
it has
Twain,
nothing to do with that.
No, it had nothing to do with Twain.
Right. And tell me a little bit about your operation.
Well, we came into Wellsboro.
How did that relate to getting the theater in Mansfield? You had another theater before Mansfield.
Well, I was the operator for Saturdays and Sundays for the Lyric Theater in Elkland. Mrs. Lewis owned that. And she wanted a dependable operator that played every reel.
Uh-huh.
And she had a guy there that knew that when the last show was done, why, he could go home,
Uh-huh.
So he was pretty clever at every once in a while skipping a reel.
To speed it up, huh?
2,000 feet. Well, there's
Wow.
no way, because each reel had 2,000 feet of film.
And so there were some gaps in the
There would
movies.
be about 10 reels or 6 reels or 7 reels, And he would skip a reel, and then he would look down there to see how many people was down there, and especially if there was only 5 or 6 people, why...
He'd skip every other reel.
Really skip. And then people would leave, and as soon as the people would leave, he would lock up and go home. And people knew that. So they didn't care about the second movie, because you were never sure of seeing the whole film.
Right.
But you couldn't do that at the Twain Theater in Mansfield, because we automated in I bought a deck. The reels were that high.
Wow.
And
Wow.
set it up there, and we bought new lamp houses. The old lamp houses was the carbon arc, and you arced it, and then it was a flame, really. And that's why every once in a while, if it didn't adjust just right, even though it was automatic, you had to watch it to feed it right. You would see the film there would get kind of red on the screen.
From the heat.
And that's from the flame. Instead of having a white, you would have that red, that orange.
Interesting.
From the flame. So we had the first xenon lamp. Xenon was a German lamp. And it was about that long and had a long stem on this side and a bulb.
Did it have a lot of heat? Produce a lot of heat?
There was quite a bit of heat there. And but it was a white light. It was as white as could be.
Uh-huh.
And people really noticed the difference, and I knew we knew it too. That
was that black and white then?
with colored film, the red was really red, the blue was really blue, the green was green, because you had real, true white light, and it was the gas. It was in that bulb there. They were expensive, but they would run for 2,000 hours, so it was worth it.
So what was that, like about a year or so they'd last?
Yeah, about a year or a little bit better than a year. You can tell that when you adjust it, why you didn't have the output. It was not as bright as it used to be. So we had always had a bunch of those tubes, and then we had this automatic deck. And you would put the whole movie on this one big reel. You had a big reel on this side, and you had a big reel on this side.
Did it come to you that way, or did you have to wind it on?
No, it came all on
the big...
the 2,000-foot reels.
Oh.
And they were only about that high.
Okay, so you had to splice them together.
We spliced them, yeah. So it would take me about an hour to splice a show. I'd do that usually in the afternoon. The film usually got there about noon from Williamsport. And we'd put it on the machine there. And then at night, when you're ready to run it, well, you just thread it through the front. Had little pulleys, and it had grooves in it, and the film was about that wide. And
how wide?
About that wide.
Okay.
And we'd run it across, and then run it up to another pulley up there, and come down at the top of the projector. And so the deck had a motor, the projector had a motor, and that film was traveling at 90 feet a minute.
Wow.
And so when you started the show, I usually put the cartoon first and newsreel first or whatever, and then you went into the actual film. And I used to start it, and that was one of the reasons why we got it, because lots of times I wasn't around at night, and I was the only one licensed to operate the projectors. And although my wife had run it many, many times, she was able to do it just as good as I could do it.
Sure, because you already had it set up.
And already set up. But you had adjustments and stuff to do. You kind of watched. She had a mirror in the box office there that she'd look back, and if the picture kind of didn't look exactly right, why she would run upstairs and adjust it. And I was on Borough Council for 4 years, so most Tuesdays, because that was when the Borough Council meeting met, I'd go to the Borough Council meeting about 7:30, and she would hit the button down in the box office, and it would start automatically by itself.
Wow, so she was multitasking, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah. Well, she could do anything. She drove those big buses.
Sure.
You know, the coaches, you know.
Right.
It was certainly a lot different from driving school buses.
Yes.
But she did a lot of those trips. And but she was very, very talented. She was a farm girl, and I think farm girls are smarter.
Farm people have to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Now, you were telling me about your daughter Linda taking over part of the business when she was just a little girl.
When she was 10 years old, we gave her the concession. So she managed the concession. And the concession varied. There was nights where you'd do $50, and there would be nights where you would do $300.
Well, $50 alone was a lot back then.
Huh?
$50 was a lot back then, and
yeah,
$300 was...
It didn't pay the bills.
No,
so.
Probably not. It's not all profit. It's just your gross.
But she managed. She bought the candy. All of our candy came from Swain there at Covington, because we knew he always had fresh candy. And candy here, you take Payday, had peanuts in it, and you could have those little white worms in there. And,
oh my, oh dear.
And
not very tasty or healthy.
Yeah, but you don't know it.
Wow. Well, that's true.
But I know a fellow that said, well, you know, it's dark in the theater and they don't know the difference.
Oh my.
And so sell it. So, but we always bought the candy from Phil Swan there in Wanda, or in Covington. And his storage was all refrigerated, and we never had trouble with any of his candy, especially chocolate, you know.
So Linda did very well with that for
So
just
Linda
a little
did
girl.
Very, very well. She did very, very well. She was going to college there at Mansfield. She hired some of the college kids because the high school kids couldn't work after 9 o'clock. And but then she hired some of the high school kids too. So they ran the concession. And when she graduated from college there, she had enough money to buy a used car.
Well, good. That's she worked. That's amazing. She knows how businesses operate from
Right.
being in the family business so long.
So Effie sold tickets and Linda took tickets. She knew the tricks of most of the college kids. They had a habit of going in 8 or 10,
Yes.
and then someone would take the stubs from all of those 10. And then one would leave and say, I've got to go out the car to get something, and they would leave, and 5 minutes later, 10 people would come with their little stubs, you know. And you can't, I mean, after all, it's tonight's stuff, so
Sure.
how can you prove anything? But we know.
But you knew.
But we knew what was happening. But she was pretty good at that. She watched that pretty good. And so that was a nice thing, too, because it was in the family, and nobody could pull anything, you know.
Well, I was telling you the other day, one of my friends was saying how at the end of the first show, they'd go out the side door, or people open the side door, and people would sneak in the side door.
Yeah. Yeah, that was another thing, too. But these are things that you learn and you watch. And because after all, you know, your film sometimes was $50, sometimes it was $100, and
Really?
sometimes it was 50%. Mary Poppins cost us 90%. So 90 cents of every dollar we got, the film company got.
Oh, my goodness sake. So you had to sell a lot of candy to...
Well, Disney, when we had a Disney show, you didn't have to worry about it. We'd do $300 in the concession.
Sure.
And the big money profit was the popcorn.
Uh-huh.
Because popcorn was 80% profit.
Okay.
80 cents
To the dollar.
to the dollar, yeah.
You kept.
So we used to buy it by the ton. We'd get popcorn from Indiana there, and of course it multiplies, you know.
Yeah.
And then the American Legion was there, where
Yeah. In the Rose House, where Gregory's is now.
that house there.
Yeah.
Is that was there, Gregory?
Yeah, it used to be Marx Brothers, and it used to be the Legion. Yeah.
Well, the Legion. Well, the Legion used to come over there and buy a peck, you know, a peck sack full of popcorn.
And pop it themselves.
They'd come over about 9:30 at night.
Uh-huh.
And we always popped fresh popcorn for
Oh, they
them.
got it already popped.
Yeah, they got
okay.
it already popped. And we'd pop it and they'd take it over there. And I don't know what they did over there. I think they had played bingo or whatever they did. But anyway, they got the big bags. Sometimes they'd get 2 bags. We sold it for $1.
Oh, wow.
And
it still made a profit.
they made a profit.
Oh,
on
okay.
it. But we were okay because we sold volume, and volume is what helps, you know. And it was nothing at all to sell popcorn, because our popcorn was always fresh. The popcorn over here, he made it on Tuesdays and put it in one of those garbage cans, you know, and then take it out at night from these cans, put it into the popper there, and the lights there would kind of warm it up a little bit, but it was still
popcorn.
Still popcorn. It was old popcorn.
Wow.
But
you popped it right at the point of sale.
But our popcorn there was fresh right there. The minute we got there at night, we turned on the old popcorn machine and started making popcorn.
Uh-huh.
And it would just smell up the place, you know.
Yeah.
And
now you also you had a program for children in Saturday afternoons.
yeah, we did a show in the morning from the theater. It was just Effie and myself, just the 2 of us. It was Johnny's Let's Get Together show. And we gave away candy, we gave away free tickets, we gave away popcorn, a lot of free tickets. And then, of course, we had Johnny's Kiddie Show. We would have 400 kids every Saturday afternoon. And the parents never had to worry about it because they knew they'd bring the kids here at 2 o'clock. They didn't get out before 4:30. If the film ended at 25 minutes after 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, I would hightail it right up on the stage with the microphone, and I would talk to them and tell them how good they were and so forth and so on. And that was the reason why we had a lot of Wellsboro people that used to come to the movie.
A lot of what?
We had a lot of Wellsboro people
okay.
to the Twain Theater at night for the movies, because we never had trouble with kids, where he let the kids run the theater, you know. And but our kids were really good. They were all very, very good. I'd get up on the stage and I'd say, well, did you all have a good time? Yep, okay. Well, be careful going across the street. Be careful going home. Tell Mom and Dad that you had a good time, and if you want to come back again next week. And be safe. Always did that. Always told them that. I was always Johnny, and Effie was always Mrs. Antonio. If they had a problem, they went to Mrs. Antonio. But she was good to them. They were all... I've had adults come to me here and say, you know, your wife did this or your wife did that, or I didn't have enough money, and she told me that, well, when you come next time, well, you can bring the rest of it. Or adults that didn't have enough for their whole family, why she would say, and they said that, well, we knew she didn't know us, but she said that when you come next time, why, you can make up the difference, pick up the difference. And then every once in a while, why, a big family would come in, why, I'd be in the concession, or I'd tell the girl there, well, this family here, give them all a bag of popcorn, the boxes, we had the boxes,
yes.
Give them all popcorn, and that pleased them, that happy them, because that meant that the dime that they had or the quarter they had, they could buy candy with it.
Sure. So you really enjoyed your time at the Twain Theater.
Oh, we enjoyed it. If Effie was living today, we'd still be running it today.
That's wonderful. It's nice to look back and have such a pleasant
That's
experience.
Right.
And then you